everybody, and welcome to Life Gone Real. I met an amazing young woman not too long ago, and we just clicked. So, we, of course, had great conversation about her life, and naturally, it went into a romantic relationship. Obviously, I think we had a few drinks and mimosas, so that obviously happens. You start getting deep. But I loved her story, and I wanted her to come on the show because I know there's a lot of young women that are probably going through this or in this or they're about to go into something, similar to her story. And I really wanted her to come on the show and just share her heart. And so I'm so excited she's here.
Thank you.
Yay! Oh, and then, yes, her name is Tina. But what do you go with, Tina or Christina?
I answer to both.
You answer to both?
And my parents call me Nina, so I answer
Nina.
to it all.
I like Nina. Oh, that's cute. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to try to stay on our notes a little bit, but hey, we may venture off, and that's okay because that's what podcasters do sometimes.
That's what it's about.
Okay, so take it away and just share a little bit of this is a big, huge thing, especially if you have been dating your high school sweetheart. And her story starts off of that. So just go ahead and just kind of talk a little bit.
Yeah, so I met my high school sweetheart when I was 15 years old. And the relationship ended up lasting almost 13 years. And it's one of those things where I think it's easy for young women to almost get stuck.
Yeah.
Because that's all you know. It's easy to get comfortable, complacent, and it's hard to leave because you don't know anything else. I definitely learned, I can confidently say, I never would have left. He had to end it. I never would have left.
Wow.
So, which I'm thankful now every day it did.
But you one thing in long run, because these are to me your first everything.
Literally first everything.
Is such a huge thing, and it's almost like it is a soul tie. Mm-hmm. That is what that is. And it's hard to, I think, break that off if it's not the right, if it's not the right person supposed to be in your life. I do know a lot of high school sweethearts too stay together, which is great, but I kind of think some of them always had a breakup.
Yeah.
And then they got back together, which I think is really healthy.
Yes.
I think you should do that.
I think it is really healthy. Unfortunately, for my situation, we had a lot of, especially when we were younger, had a lot of little breakups for a week here and there.
Oh, yeah.
But you kind of start to justify it with yourself. Oh, we were just young and dumb. You know what I mean? We didn't know what we were doing. So then all of a sudden you get past these little childish ones over who took the remote, literally. And then you get to this point where things have been going and then all of a sudden it ends. And that, for me, we had a breakup, and that was the soul-crushing one.
Okay.
We had been together about 10 years.
That's a long time.
Yep, at that point, and it literally happened, right before the anniversary, and it was kind of he ended it, and it was my entire life imploded. I completely had lost myself in the relationship. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know myself other than the relationship. That was my purpose, basically.
Yeah.
So it ended, and it was gut-wrenching, to say the least. After some time, we ended up reconnecting and getting back together. And
why did you get back together? What pulled you back?
I can honestly say now, I never would have admitted to this before. When we got back together, I cried for a week.
Wow.
Because there was definitely an internal struggle going on. It was I knew I shouldn't have.
But
I didn't.
But
that's where I was comfortable. That's where I felt safe.
Oh.
And that's...
But your gut was telling you no.
Yeah.
Which again, and I'm always listen. Like gut intuitions are so strong.
They really are.
Wow.
Didn't listen. So got back together. Fast forward 5 years. I even told him when we got back together, like, don't you dare break up with me when I get to 30. He broke up with me 3 weeks before my 30th birthday.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Big bang.
So, yeah.
Thanks.
Shocker. So, and that one was difficult, but in a whole new ball game.
Yeah.
I already experienced the breakup, the trust ending, the soul crushing feeling from the previous one. So it was like it happened, and I was just kind of like, oh, we're doing this again.
Wow.
And it was...
So this was 5 years later.
Almost
5 years later.
Not 5 years. It was probably, it was about around 3.5, 4 years later.
Okay.
And I just remember I had no more fight left. Like, there was no the begging and bargaining.
Right.
And, are you sure you don't love me anymore? Kind of thing. Like, it was just kind of like... The devastating aspect for me at that point was the fact that we had started to build a life together. We bought a house. We had our dog. We had a cat. Like, it was that we had built this life, but it was kind of a fairy tale. Like, it was like not real.
Wow.
Almost.
That's good.
So the hard part for me was working so hard to buy my first house and choosing to leave.
Yeah.
And leave it all, basically, and move back home with my parents at 30 years old, which is almost kind of humiliating, embarrassing.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like a failure.
Yeah.
That was like that, and that time around, I just remember by the time I got out of the house, into my parents, I realized I wasn't devastated like I was the first time, but I knew something needed to change this time around. So I went to therapy.
That's good. Therapy's so big. I really, everybody should go to therapy. That's a big thing.
You really should. You really should. And don't feel awkward about it.
No,
don't be ashamed about it.
Don't be ashamed.
I will promote it till the day I die.
Yes.
It's the best thing that ever happened to me.
It is I definitely believe in therapy. And of course, coming from a little bit of my background, I don't know. I think a lot of people they just didn't go to therapy. Everything, you just kind of hand it over, which obviously God can help you, but you hand it over to God and then that's it. But that you need help. Like, you need help and guidance. Like, it's just hard. You need some therapy.
It's hard because even in this day and age, I think there is still, a little bit of a negative aura around
therapy,
anything that relates to your mental health. And and I honestly, that was the other thing, is what really made me realize I needed to do therapy this time was because of I had a family member who went through a bad breakup, and she was like, this is everything to me. You really need to, you have to do this. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a try. Called a couple therapists. I didn't want referrals because I didn't want to have any sort of expectation.
Okay.
I just wanted to go in, find someone who knew nothing about me, and figure out how I needed to find myself again.
Yes.
Yeah. And
how did that happen? Because that's even, I get it.
It was incredible. I can honestly say the first therapy session I went to was so incredible. I cried the whole time. Ugly cried the whole time. But I left there and I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what I need. And I did. I saw her once a week for months. Months and months and months.
That's so...
And just all the little things, like, she went through so many different assessments with me and, gave me homework to do, stuff to control my anxiety, because I had a lot of anxiety going through everything. And it was more so anxiety than even feeling like bummed out and depressed. Like, it was just, I was so anxious.
Really?
Over everything. Yes. I felt like my entire body was just like buzzing all the time. Like, I just couldn't calm down.
Okay.
And so she gave me all these tools, and I started, journaling and stuff like that. And then every session she'd be like, okay, so I want you to go back and read, which it's hard to read when you're putting down some of these feelings and emotions. But then you're like, oh my God, I've come so far from that.
Right.
Like, I didn't realize until I hit therapy how much of myself I lost. Like, I lost myself. Gone.
That's a really good thing. Definitely yes, because I think you lose yourself in a relationship, especially when it's a young relationship, when we're dating at 15. And it's like, why is that? I think you and I were talking, it's like, how do we lose ourselves so fast? Especially, I wonder if it's like, do us girls like lose ourselves more than the guys?
I think it's
sometimes I wonder
that. Times are changing. I look back on totally. I look at my parents' relationship. I look at both sets of my grandparents' relationships, my aunts and uncles, like the relationships around me. But it's like I kind of got brought up in a household where kind of traditional, like the guy wears the pants and, the woman is, a little more like beta, I guess you can say, not alpha.
Right.
Which I am comfortable with that. I am totally comfortable with that. But you have to do things for yourself, because if you just kind of become that partner who's almost a doormat, which is exactly what I was.
Yeah.
That's when you lose yourself. It's like, you don't realize that sometimes, like, when something's being said and the fact that you're not coming back with something,
right?
Because you're thinking like, I just don't want to start a fight. Like, I don't want to blow this out of proportion. But it's actually also just allowing you to just continue to lose your voice.
Wow.
Almost. And it just, the repetition of it, that's what becomes easy. You just don't want to argue, or, you're afraid of getting yelled at, or, whatever it is. There's people that have experienced way worse than I have.
Yeah.
Like, the worst I got was getting screamed at, but there's people out there who...
Oh, yeah, it's the abusive relationship.
When it goes even further than that. And you just have to... You can be a partner, but you have to love yourself first.
Yes.
Before your partner.
That's such a huge...
And you can love your partner so unconditionally, but you have to love yourself first.
Yes. You have to take care of you. And I've even learned that, even just in my situation.
Yeah. And that's why...
You have to kind of get back to you and love on you first.
Yeah. And that's why I lost myself. Because I revolved my life around the relationship. It was all about making him happy. If he's in a bad mood, what am I going to do to make him happy? What can I do? It was just literally, I lived and I breathed for him and did nothing for myself.
Wow. And that, and then that's you lose, and then you totally lose yourself. And then you start thinking, so whenever you guys, especially, so for young girls who are in your 20s, this is such a huge thing, because I've heard this many times, and there's some girls that are in their 20s and they're like, I'm not in a really good relationship right now, but I don't think that, but there's nobody else. And that freaks me. Hello, look at what, I'm not 20. So I'm like, if you're in your 20s and you're like, there's no one else, I'm like, oh, well, what's in it for me? But anyways, it actually, when I would hear that, it made me sad. Like my heart just broke for these, and there's gorgeous, all these girls are they're 20, they're like vibrant and living their life. And I don't know, there's so many things. And to hear that, I'm just like, what? So and you felt that way.
Yeah.
Too. And that's crazy.
I knew I wasn't in a good spot for a long time, but I did not want to admit to myself that I wasn't. And it took the relationship ending thing. And, and it's like one of those things, like, I can't thank him enough for ending it. Wow. I can't, that's the best thing he ever did for me. And I don't mean that in a negative way whatsoever. Like I said, I never would have done it. So it, forced me to get real with myself. One of the things I kept hearing was people kept telling me to fake it till you make it.
Oh. In a relationship?
After the breakup.
Oh, after the breakup. Oh, okay. Oh, no. That's hard.
There's maybe fake it till you make it when you're out in public and don't be a mess. Like, hold your head high. But don't take it seriously because you need to feel the feelings.
Yes.
They're uncomfortable. They're not fun.
But that's the part of healing.
That's exactly.
Yes.
You
have to feel.
Mm-hmm. Like you can't avoid it. You can't avoid it. And it's crummy. And how do I say this? Like that's it. It's just crummy. It sucks.
Yeah. But you have to do that to get to the other side.
Exactly. And there was another thing I remember that a friend told me, that the only thing keeping you from moving forward is basically getting to the other side of that fear. Like almost like getting over that wall, getting over that hump. And it's like, you got to get comfortable, and it's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
But you got to tread through the mud.
Right.
And you got to just keep going, because there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And we, for any of you guys, like, especially any of you girls who are definitely, my heart just goes out to, like, if you're in your 20s and you're going through this, or you're in a bad relationship, please, like, hear her and hear her heart that, you can get out and have an amazing, amazing future, because now we'll get into that. I mean, obviously you move forward, you heal. And then when did you kind of like, I know, how far along in your healing, like, or after that you guys broke up, that obviously the full on last time that you kind of started getting yourself out there again? I
tried to right away. Big mistake. You got to give yourself some time. That was a big mistake. I kind of got out there right away, and then it was like once things got not even serious, just, like leaned in for a kiss, I was like,
oh, you freaked out.
Like, well, and that's the thing is like, this is also what I'm sure a lot of people have experienced too, like, and this just goes to show like how I still didn't know myself. I hadn't done enough self-work yet. Because all I could think about was, like, I almost felt like I was cheating.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I felt like I was doing something wrong.
Wow.
And that I should not have been feeling like that.
No.
But
well, you hadn't, maybe because you hadn't fully let go completely.
I think it was part of that, but I think I was also trying to be like, haha, like, watch me go, like, mm-hmm. So trying to do one of those. It was like, I literally did. I went through like trying to buy my happiness, bought a car, bought a lot of furniture.
Went shopping.
And it made me happy for like 2.5 seconds.
Right.
But not in the long run.
No.
But I'm all for retail therapy still.
Oh yeah. No, we all need that.
We do.
Yes.
But it was one of those, like, I realized I needed to continue with my therapy, continue working on finding myself, because until I really felt comfortable again with who I was as an individual, I really had no business, really getting into anything serious.
Yeah.
My friends were a little concerned and convinced me to start a dating app. So I signed up on Bumble. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say I took it too seriously. Okay. But I just had fun with it.
Yeah. I'm totally curious about those dating sites. I'm not on a dating site.
It did bring a lot of entertainment. I was working in Malibu at the time, so when I would go to work, the perimeter that was sent, I would get a lot of people from LA and Santa Monica, and there were some gems, some serious gems, and me and my best friend just would like sit there sometimes like on a lunch break and be like, oh, this one's it. This is it. So there was a lot of fun with it. I did. And, I met a few people. I went on a lot of first dates. which
Well, you hadn't really dated because you were with somebody for
I had never, let's make that clear. I met my ex when I was 15 years old. I didn't date. When you're 15 and you meet someone in high school, they're like, you want to be my girlfriend? And you're just like, okay.
It's like the little notes.
So, yeah, notes? Stuff like that.
Check box. Yes or no?
No dating.
Right.
No dating.
Right.
So, I remember the first actual, I'm going to go on a date with someone. I all of a sudden was like, oh, what am I doing here? We are talking about foreign waters. I have no idea what I am doing. No idea. I am literally texting all my friends. This is so awkward.
That's so funny.
What do I talk about? What do I not talk about? So nerve-wracking. But I don't want to say unfortunately because I know it can be hard for some girls. It really can. I lucked out. I had a lot of first dates that all the guys were really chill.
That's
it just
good.
wasn't there was just no chemistry there.
Okay.
I never felt uncomfortable. I really, really did luck out.
That's good.
So luckily my experience ended up being really positive.
Yeah, with the dating.
Really positive. There was a couple guys that I went on more than one date with, and
just to kind of just see.
Yeah,
a bit
there
more,
was a little bit, we had a little bit more in common. We had mutual friends, stuff like that. So it's okay, why not? Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So that was also a learning experience. I learned, luckily, I was never ghosted by anybody, but I ghosted someone. And I feel real guilty.
You feel bad.
But my tips for girls, because I have girlfriends that have been
ghosted.
Just the dead. They ghost you. Just leave the dead and move on.
Love that.
I feel like a lot of girls want an explanation, and that's understandable.
Yes, because we want to know why. We don't understand, and it's that closure. I think all of us always want closure.
And I think a lot of people too do take it as a learning experience. So what did I do wrong?
Right.
So I know not to do it the next time.
Right. Oh yeah.
But it's you just can't leave it. Just on to the next. Unfortunately.
Yeah. I love that. What'd you say? Ghost. When they ghosted, just leave the dead.
Leave the dead.
Leave the dead. So just don't even, girls, don't text them. Don't call them.
Don't.
I think it's too desperate.
It is.
It is.
It is. And it kind of makes, then it's the leave it to a guy. Oh, she's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And you're not crazy.
Yeah, that's so true.
So.
That's funny. I haven't experienced any of that yet. I'm sure, I don't know, one of these days.
Yeah, get your feet wet. Just
a
little bit. It's,
but Bumble is from what I've heard, Hinge is the big one now.
Hinge is the big one now, yeah. I never did Hinge. I never had multiple. I did not do Tinder.
Yeah,
because I feel that's not... That's just not who I am.
That's just a hookup, right?
Pretty much.
Okay. That's got you.
I did Bumble. I didn't do
no Tinder,
multiple.
Rana. No.
Yeah, don't do Tinder. I didn't do multiple sites. And the funny thing was I had gone on, I had met a couple guys. I had gone on these dates. I was still going to therapy weekly. And I kind of just got to a point where I was you know what? I think I'm just going to keep focusing on me. I realized I had never really been alone.
Oh.
I lived with my parents.
Yeah.
Bought a house with my ex and moved right in with him. So I'd never really been alone. At this point, I had moved out.
Okay.
And I was on my own. And I had basically taken over my grandparents' house to help fix it up when they and to help supplement their income while they were in assisted living. And I was actually really starting to enjoy being on my own. I was a cheerleader for 15 years. I signed up at a gym, not a gymnastics gym, and went every week to go do tumbling and just so like good. Things that I like kind of got back to my roots, I guess you can say. Like
I can relate to that.
Kind of thing. Finding new hobbies and stuff like that. Hanging out with my girlfriends because I
think that's so healing.
Pushed a lot of people away in my last relationship. And I wasn't the best version of myself in my last relationship. So I really just kind of started really enjoying just working on me. I really loved it. And I was honestly thinking about getting rid of Bumble. And then that's when my now boyfriend and I started talking. So like, thank God I didn't.
I love that. So like, and okay, so she was about to get rid of, so you're about to get rid of Bumble, and then he like, I don't know how Bumble, what is it? They text or whatever?
So basically, I don't know how it works. For that app, you know,
or is it a swipe?
You swipe.
It's a swipe.
But you swipe, and then it will let you know if he swiped and matched with you.
Okay.
But you start the conversation.
Oh, the girls start the conversation. Oh, we're in the lead in that one.
Yes. So you started. And I was one of those, like, I'm like the one that everybody says, like, you don't do that. Like, I didn't really give any kind of background about myself.
Okay.
And I literally would just be like, hey. Like, nothing witty. Nothing, you know. And my friends would be like, no, you can't do it. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
I'm doing it the way I want to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing it the way I want to do it. But yeah, so I matched with my now boyfriend. And
you guys have been together for a while.
And we've been together for a few years now. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Wow, that's so good. And you weren't looking. I think things like that come up when you're not looking.
100%. When you are not actively looking.
And so desperate to have someone.
Happens. And I think that's what happens is when, you know, a lot of women get to a point where you're desperate to find someone, that's telling you still need to work on yourself.
That's good. Yes.
Like, find yourself.
Don't
be
first.
Afraid of yourself.
Totally.
Like, get
that's
one
so true.
with your soul. Like, just, have to, like I said, you have to love yourself before you can really, truly love someone else. And love them in an appropriate and, like, respectful manner. Like, it's... You know, so it was like, that's kind of where I was at. I was just kind of like, I was kind of feeling like, you know what, like, I could be in a relationship right now, but I was like, you know what, like, maybe I'm just going to do me. Like, I'm just going to do me.
Yeah.
And I was very comfortable with that. And we started talking, and one thing led to another. And here we are 3 years later. Like,
I love that. So see, I love that. It's a great story. And you also, I mean, as far as career-wise and everything, like you're doing so good.
I definitely, I got the glow up, basically.
Yeah.
My relationship ended. I got to move into a beautiful home on my own. And, you know, like I said, I went on a bit of a shopping spree. So I got myself a nice new car. I love that. I had recently got promoted before my breakup. So it was like I had this new great job to throw myself into that I worked with my best friend. Like,
oh, that's so good.
It couldn't have been a better situation. And the crazy thing is when this all happened to me, she was going through the same thing. Her ex-husband left her about 6 months before my breakup. So it was like, that just brought us even closer than ever. And we just had a great, like, single ladies, like, year, basically. Like, we had our own hashtag.
Oh, I love that. That's cute.
And we just did, you know, we basically did everything that we weren't allowed to do in our relationships, or we didn't allow ourselves to do in our last relationships.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
That's good. No, I think it sounds like you got back to yourself, and I think I don't know. That's like the biggest. That is definitely probably the biggest important is really getting back to you and loving you, and really figuring out yourself so you can really be in that great relationship in the future. And if you're so incomplete, but I think. You know, all of us, all the young girls, you date you will date in your 20s, and usually you have those boyfriends in your teens, and you have the boyfriends even in your 20s. And, but I think, I don't know, I just want to encourage, the biggest thing, just encourage 20-year-olds, well, and 30, anybody. I mean, obviously, I'm older than that. I'm not going to say my age, but I'm sure people can do the math. But no, I love your story of now you've come so far, and in a 10-year relationship, and then it was really technically almost 15. 13. Okay, yeah. So it's 13 years. And that's a long time. And now you've come out on the other side, and you're so happy. And I just want girls and women out there to be encouraged of like, look, it's not at the end of the road, and you're 20. I've heard that. And I think I even said that earlier. 20-year-old, I'm like, what is happening? Like,
your 20s are supposed to be like your time to really kind of be letting loose, have fun,
find yourself college, a little bit too.
Like all this stuff. Like I did go to school. I got, my AA. I got my license as an LVN.
Okay.
I did all this stuff, and my plan was to go on for my RN, which was not something that was supported in my previous relationship.
Okay.
My now relationship, my boyfriend was like, yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
You want to do it? Okay.
I love that.
And he supported me the whole entire way. It's not, it's like, you got to realize, like, I'm not one to be like, oh, the grass is greener on the other side. That is not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is if you are realizing that you're questioning things, you are doing everything that revolves around the other person, you realize, like, I don't know, it's almost like being stuck.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Listen to your gut. Like and I'm not afraid to say that, like, I wouldn't have left. I knew that, like, just based off of how much of myself I lost.
Yeah.
But, even if you start seeing therapists before anything is over or not. And who's to say it's not going to work out either? Everybody's relationship is different. Right. Everything is different. But you owe it to yourself.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love her story, and that's why I wanted her here. And yeah, I really hope that inspires somebody, any of you guys out there, women out there, and even men too, even guys. Yeah. Hey, be honest.
And it's just, because
I think that's the biggest thing is be honest. Ways. It goes both ways. It's like, guys, if you're not into a girl or a woman and it's been that way for a while and you feel stuck, I mean, the same thing. Guys can feel stuck. It's like, be honest. I think just honesty is such a huge thing because it does work both ways.
Honesty is a huge thing, and it is depending on who is the one feeling that way. It's like, I know it's hard, and you do get
you don't want to hurt the other person.
You don't want to hurt the other person, but you're doing them a favor.
Yes.
Don't string them along.
Totally. No string alongs.
You're doing them a favor. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
But in the long run,
totally.
And it's going to be a lesson learned. It's going to build them as a person. It's, you know what I mean?
Like, and it's best for both. It's like, it's like you don't want to hurt the other person, but it's like knowing the fact that, yes, if you're honest and you just say whatever, you guys break up, it's best for both. Because obviously it's going to hurt the other person if they're more into you. I mean, all those things I feel like sometimes with soul timing that usually happens.
Well, and I think that's what also, the longer you try to hold on.
Yeah.
That's when the relationship really is going to start getting worse.
Totally.
You're going to resent, one of you is going to resent the other person. You're not going to really care, like truly care about what that person's doing. That's, and that's no way to live.
Yeah, no, totally. Well, I love your story, and I'm very, very happy and so proud of you for coming out. I love hearing inspiring, encouraging stories, and I hope that all of you guys out there have been a little inspired and encouraged that life goes on. You can move forward no matter what comes your way. Yeah, and I think that was really, really good. So I'm very proud. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, and everybody have an amazing day, and cheers. That's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on Life Gone Real. Don't forget to subscribe to my podcast and YouTube channel. Definitely rate it. Leave comments. I'd love to get into your lives a little. Send me some topics you'd like to talk about, or if there's anything you're possibly going through in your life. I'm so glad you're here with me on this journey. Cheers to you, and have a great day.